Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Long Shot Podcast. I'm your host, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Davis Patrick Reid. Davis, how we doing?
We are back. I'm great. Episode 40 feels like a milestone. Any round number feels nice, but yeah, it's good to be back. You have a different backdrop. You're in a different location?
I am in my new residence. I have moved. I'm not going to disclose too much information due to the privacy of myself. But yeah, I've changed locations, just like our good friends Drake and Future say in that song. I believe is called "Change Locations." But yeah, I'm here in a new place. Still haven't got the at-home studio set up, but be on the lookout for that in future YouTube videos.
Oh, come on. Round of applause. No sound effect, so I am clapping. I'm air clapping for those of you that can't see me. This guy's a homeowner. Come on. Let me see your hands. Get on your feet.
I am. I'm excited about it. I will say I vastly underestimated how much goes into one, moving, and two, being a homeowner. Obviously I've moved before, but like when I was in college, like I felt like everything that I owned could like fit in a car. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. Now I'm at the point where I've like accumulated enough stuff where that's kind of the thing that you realize when you move is like how much random stuff you have. So that has been a big takeaway of mine is just how much goes into moving.
It really is the worst. And I'm with you. I don't have that much stuff. I am not a homeowner yet, but when I was out in LA, I moved every year for 3 or 4 straight years. And so just the process of packing up everything you have, shipping it to another location, even if it's just down the street, is very difficult, but it's an opportunity to downsize. Did you find things to get rid of?
I did. I did some purging before I changed locations. Once again, bringing up changing locations. But I did some purging of some like old stuff that I didn't need. Donated pretty much all of it. Gave some to friends of mine who wanted it. But yeah, basically, I realized when I was going through that process of just how much it's not junk. I mean, that's probably strong, but just stuff that I don't need. I try to live a relatively Spartan lifestyle. Great SAT vocab word for maybe you kids out there studying at home. It is college admission season, or at least college application season. So maybe that was a relevant take. But anyways, Dave, how was your Halloween? I see a remnants of a mustache. Was that a part of a costume or what was that?
No, this had nothing to do with a Ted Lasso costume. I saw a lot of those, though, on my timeline. My Halloween was good. It was pretty low-key. We're in a great neighborhood here in Ann Arbor, so we had some trick-or-treaters, which is always fun. Although it's still like, it's flu season. COVID is still floating around. So we just set the candy out in the driveway on a little table and just let people come grab. That's always an interesting dynamic because you got the kids who take handfuls. You got the kids who are polite and take one. You've got the kids who take handfuls and their parents make them come back and put some back. We were just watching it all develop. It really tells you a lot about a kid's psyche, how they approach the no parents around candy bowl.
It's good to know that you were psychoanalyzing the youth in Ann Arbor as they
just
went
watching them from my window,
collecting candy with your mustache on, mind you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly, I don't love that. The fact that you removed the personal interaction from Halloween by just putting it in a bowl on a table. I mean, it's just not very exciting to me. I feel like that's a huge part of Halloween is like, interacting with the kids, seeing the costume, cracking a joke, letting them take, whatever candy they want. Then like maybe you find a costume that you like, take an extra, like having that kind of like that back and forth banter is a big part of Halloween.
No, you're right. I think maybe it was that I had the mustache. I don't know. I just think I felt inclined to keep my distance,
Anyways, Davis is incredibly hard-headed on calling this next segment 5 and 5. It's basically takeaways from the week. He's been very bullish on the 5 and 5 headline. So do you want to just get us right into it?
Yeah, let's do it. 5 takeaways from the week in 5 minutes. There's no way that it will be 5 minutes.
This is not going to be 5 minutes, but go ahead.
I'm gonna lead it off. Maybe the quote of the year so far, in my opinion. Got to get your take on it. PJ Tucker, after you guys play Brooklyn, is asked about the Miami Heat's defense. And he says, quote, "I can be on KD, then Bam will switch." And I'm like, cool. Then Jimmy will switch. And I'm like, cool. Then Kyle will switch. And I'm like, cool. We can yell at each other and then go out there and play and be good. So he names 4 of the starting 5 being able to switch and be cool. And I want to know, maybe the quote ended early. Maybe there was an omission of you. Have you addressed this with him? How do you feel about this? I don't know. Maybe I'm making it too big of a deal, but I don't know. I didn't appreciate the subtle shade from PJ there.
See, actually, I'm going to take this a different direction. I think there was an omission in name dropping, but I think that the part of that quote where I really shine is the "we can yell at each other and go out there and play and be good." I think that a lot of the yelling I'm involved with. Some of it's motivating, some of it's encouraging, some of it is, about doing something better, this or that. So while I wasn't mixed in with the talking about the switching, and those guys obviously were, I do still feel that there was a reference to me being made that might be extrapolating a little bit. I'm okay with that. The great thing about quotes that I've learned this week is that you can take them out of context and you can kind of just basically do whatever you want with them. I learned that from actually this podcast was quoted in a sports business journal. I don't know if you knew that, Davis.
I did.
My remarks about the new Wilson ball were basically taken out of context. But anyways, not really something that we need to harp on. But I thought it was a great quote by PJ. I really did.
It's funny. And by the way, we're still on takeaway 1. This is not a transition to takeaway 2. But
no.
It is funny that the Wilson ball, we referenced it a couple weeks ago. You talked about how it's just different. It feels different, which is, I think, a very harmless take. But multiple guys have now come out and sort of echoed the same sentiment. Paul George the other night in a post-game conference said, look, I'm not making excuses. I want to be very clear. I'm not making excuses, but the ball feels different. It's going to take time to adjust. You might see some bad misses. And I think that just comes with the territory, right? Like, you're changing brands of balls. It's impossible that it's going to be exactly the same. We want to make it very clear that you've said you can shoot a beach ball 50%. We're not making excuses here. We're just making observations. That's our job here at the Long Shot Podcast.
Yeah, different does not equal bad. I feel like we need to put up like a sign of that with a cross through the equal sign. Change is sometimes good. In this context, I'm not saying that this change is necessarily good, but I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad either. I'm just saying
that's going to get taken out of context once again.
I'm just saying that it's a change. That's all I'm saying. But to sit there and say that we change products, and then say that it's the same product, it's not. Once again, not really needing to harp on this too much. Anyways, our first takeaway was the PJ quote. What's the second one, Dave?
I'm taking the second takeaway as well, and it's that Duncan. This is kind of like 1A, but it's our second takeaway. Let's give a little credit to your defense, all right? Because your defense has been good this year. You guys are a menace in Miami on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's been well documented. You guys are number 1 defensive team in the NBA. But you grabbed your 500th defensive rebound this week. So once again, no soundboard, but we're giving a round of applause. 500 career defensive rebounds. I know it's early in the season, but you're averaging over 4 a game, which is 1 more than you did last year. And most importantly, you have grabbed 2 offensive rebounds this year through 7 games. For those of you that have been listening to the Long Shot Podcast for a couple months now, you know that last year Duncan set a record for fewest offensive rebounds in the NBA for someone that played over, I think, 2,000 minutes with 7. I think you grabbed 7.
7, yeah, feels right.
So you have 2 through 7 games, which means you're on pace for like 20. You're going to shatter that. Shatter it. So, I hope you keep that up.
I appreciate that. It's good to know that I have a chance to not be on the wrong side of history once again. The 7 rebounds, offensive rebounds in 2,000 plus minutes is not one of the better stats. But yeah, I mean, I will say I've gotten a little bit more leeway to offensive rebound this year, which I think which is what you can attribute to, the massive change,
right.
Just the volume of my offensive rebounding, just 2 of them through 7 games. So yeah, that's a huge reason why. I'm going to take number 3, the takeaway, and that is that the city of Dallas is very underrated. So we played second night of a back-to-back in Memphis on Saturday. We flew right after the game to Dallas. So granted, we got in very late on Saturday, but we spent Saturday night, all day Sunday, all day Monday, played Tuesday, and flew. So we spent 3 days in the city of Dallas. We had an off day Sunday because we had a back-to-back, and then we practiced Monday. So still, we had a lot of downtime. And, I was just I didn't do anything crazy. I was just walking around the city, just kind of getting a feel, and it had a great energy. I thought the climate was great, incredibly underrated climate. It was just cool, crisp enough to where it's not too hot, but it's still warm enough to where you can maybe get away with a short sleeve shirt or something like that. So
that's important.
I'm a fan of Dallas. Where we were staying, great proximity to some good restaurants, a couple coffee shops. If you wanted to go shopping, you could do that as well. A lot of versatility in the city of Dallas. That's a takeaway of mine for the week, is that I'm a fan of the city of Dallas.
I fully support that. I haven't spent enough time in Dallas to confirm or deny, but I trust your judgment. And it's amazing how much good weather can impact your perception of a place or of a city. So I'm sure that helps. But all right, shout out Dallas. I'm happy to hear that it's a good city. All right, Dunk, I'm going to take the 4th takeaway, if that's all right. I earlier said that PJ's quote is my favorite quote of the year, but I'm totally retracting that statement because this is by far a better quote. Jimmy says you're the dumbest player he's ever played with, which is pretty special. I think he said it tongue in cheek, but still, you said you can take quotes out of context if you want. So if you just read the quote, he is saying you're the dumbest player that he's ever played with. How does that make you feel?
Well, first and foremost, it doesn't make me feel great. I got so many texts about this one. People sending me the clip, people sending me the quote. And then like 2 days after he said it, it got like picked up again and like resurfaced in the media cycle. So I've been hearing a lot about this over the last several days. I think it's partially tongue in cheek. Jimmy just has this kind of way of just speaking his mind in media sessions, and for whatever reason he felt so inclined to say some disparaging things about yours truly. To be honest with you, I thought that the question was going to involve me in some capacity, and it didn't. Like, he just kind of pulled my name out of thin air, right. Which, whatever. I mean, it's something that him and I kind of go back and forth on. I like to pride myself on having a pretty high basketball IQ. He doesn't clearly think that that's true. But yeah, it's just some good quality, productive teammate back and forth is all it is, really.
That's good to hear, but here's my thought, Dunk. I just don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore. We went to school together. I've seen you in the classroom. I think you're a pretty smart guy, but you also like to drop big vocabulary words on this podcast, and it might be some posturing on your part. It might be a facade. It might be covering up some lack of IQ. So I figure the only way for us to really know is to put your feet to the fire. What I've done here is I've spent some time combing the internet with some IQ tests, and I've grabbed a series of questions that I would like to ask you just to get a rough sense of where your IQ sits right now. Is that all right? Can I give these to you?
I mean, yeah, you're really putting me on the spot here, but we can run this.
Some of these are going to be pretty easy, I think you should get. Some might test your mental a little bit. I think it's going to be good. Look, it's like last week we did our first long thoughts where we gave some relationship advice. And you talked about how this is a basketball-heavy podcast. It's important to stimulate our minds in other ways. So I've got a couple IQ questions for you. We're going to do just that. First is a little bit of a vocabulary question, which should be a fastball down the middle for you. All right, here you go.
This is my sweet spot, but go ahead.
Which word expresses the meaning of reassuring the best? Is it compassionate, comforting, explanatory, or meddlesome? Reassuring.
It's definitely one of the first two. I'll go comforting, reassuring, comforting. I feel like those are synonyms.
That is correct. You are 1 for 1. Congratulations.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you starting in my strike zone. Thank you.
That's right in your wheelhouse. Number 2 is a pattern number question, which I think you still should be comfortable for you, but we'll see. All right. So please name the next number in this series. 4, 6, 9, 6, 14, 6, blank. What number would complete that series? By the way, I have written out these questions that Duncan can see, so he's not just going straight off. He can read these as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, you actually reading this out loud actually helped me more than looking at it visually.
I believe that.
Which is interesting, because when I was just looking at the question, because obviously the answers are not on there, but I'm looking at them, these numbers in this order, I was a little confused. But hearing the cadence in which you read it, you almost kind of like tipped me off a little bit.
I think I did.
The repeating 6 is what gave it away. So what I'm seeing is that it's the repeating 6 every other, and then I'm seeing it jump in increments of 5 in between the 6s. So I got 4, 6, 9, 6, 14, 6, 19.
Correct. I'm now bummed that I read that out loud. I think I probably
honestly,
did tip it off.
I would have been lost without the cadence of you reading it.
All right, fine. All right, question number 3. A little word association here. Water is to pipe. Water is to pipe as blank is to wire. Is it A, cord, B, electricity, C, heat, D, gas?
So this is a loaded question. It's either B or C. The logical answer is B, electricity. But in some cases, I'm pretty sure heat can also travel through a wire. I'm not trying to outthink the question here, but I'm gonna say B, electricity.
You were outthinking the question, but it is B, electricity. Congratulations. Okay. You are 3 for 3. All right, Dunk, I got one more for you. All right. This is another, it's kind of like a math question. Let's see how you do here.
All right.
So
let me paint. Am I allowed to use props? Can I break out a piece of paper? Or no?
100%. No, okay. You can count on your hands. That's it.
Okay, I use my hands.
So let me paint a picture for you, Dunk. Mary, who is 16, is 4 times older than her brother. How old will she be when she's 2 times older than her brother? Ooh. Is it A, 20, B, 24, C, 25, D, 26, or E, 28?
Yeah, so this is just classic math word problem. Once again, I was not a great math student, but word problems were kind of my strong suit. So you're really just kind of playing into my web here. So if Mary's 16, 4 times older than her brother, that means her brother at the time is 4. So they're 12 years apart. So then I'm just going to reverse engineer the question and look at the answers and say that half of 24 is 12. So it's B, 24.
Ding, ding, ding. How about that? 4 for 4. All right, Jimmy, you hear this?
I don't know what Jimmy's talking about. I am dialed in. 4 for 4. What is that? A 160 IQ? What is that?
You're up there with Einstein. You're up there with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Doesn't he have a really high IQ? You're up there, man. You're up there. Congratulations. Hey, Jimmy, take that, man. You see this? 4 for 4. This guy's a genius.
I gotta say, it feels good to step on this platform in front of millions and millions of viewers and listeners,
billions,
and perform in that fashion.
I enjoyed that. You crushed it. 4 for 4. Well done.
It's a huge confidence builder for me. My takeaway, I have the last one. Pretty simple. Yeah. The Heat are good. I think we're pretty good. We're 6-1 right now as of today. When this comes out, we'll be playing the Celtics tonight. Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty good. So I'm looking forward to keeping it rolling.
You guys have looked awesome, really awesome. I saw a stat today. I think it was the Heat Twitter account that tweeted this out, but you guys haven't been out rebounded this year, and your bench has not been outscored this year. That feels like a recipe to win a lot of games, but you're also first in the league defensively. I think top 5 offensively. It's just like you guys have been rolling. Largest point differential in the NBA right now. It's like hovering around 17. You guys are just smacking people. I mean, look, it's early, but I imagine you got to feel pretty confident with the start you guys have had.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great start. Obviously, you got to continue to keep building. And I think some of it is some teams are still kind of figuring out, some different things. And I think that from early on, we've kind of already established an identity, which I think goes a long way. So it's going to be about continuing to grow and build it. Obviously championships are not won in October or November. They are won in June. So we'll see. But like you said, it's great to get off to a good start. All right, Dave, what's the Reddit question of the week?
Reddit question of the week. We liked every once in a while giving the behind the scenes view. So this question is in that vein. You referenced earlier when you talked about Dallas being a great city, how you traveled straight from Memphis. I am curious. Well, actually, Grandmaster Funk on Reddit is curious. What's it like for an NBA team at the airport? What does your guys' travel day look like when you are flying?
Great question, Grandmaster Funk. So I'll start by saying that it's not your conventional airport experience, as you could maybe imagine. We fly out of a different section of the airport. So, for example, when we're flying out of Miami, we will go to practice or we'll have treatment, or if it's a back-to-back, we'll play a game, whatever it is. Everybody will drive separately in their own vehicles to the airport. There's like a little private parking lot where we'll all park. That's gated off, all that sort of stuff. And then
so don't get any ideas, people. You can't find the cars.
It's just, I don't even want to call it a terminal. It's literally just like a little walkthrough. Just kind of, I guess it is a terminal. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, you just kind of walk through security. It's an abbreviated form of security, and they just grab your bags and you just walk onto the tarmac and walk up the ramp onto the plane. So it's obviously we're not dealing with the kind of hustle and bustle of your prototypical airport experience, largely just because being efficient is incredibly important, particularly after games. Every hour that you can save of sleep in a bed is a huge deal, especially when you get going on a road trip or something, and sleep becomes increasingly more important. So it's then when we land right off the plane, the buses are already pulled up right to the plane, and just hop on the buses and they take us to the hotel. So it's a very, very luxurious way to travel. And it's largely because of the efficiency standpoint. And also, while we're on the plane, it's really important to try to maximize sleep on planes as well. So, incredibly spoiled 100%. It's we should complain about our lodging or anything like that, because we really do have it first class all the way.
Yep, that's my takeaway, is you guys are spoiled. What does it look like in the air? Are guys sleeping? Are guys playing card games? Are guys listening to music? Do you have assigned seats? Like, are you sitting next to the same people every time, or is it free for all?
It's kind of like free for all early on, and then we're all creatures of habit and routine. So eventually people just end up kind of sitting in the same seats over and over. I sit next to Max Strus. I'm a big window seat guy,
Me too.
So he gets the aisle, I get the window. Some guys play cards, a lot of cards being played, music bumping usually out loud. And then I'll either read, I'll watch TV, I'll watch movies, whatever it is, or I'll sleep. Honestly, a lot of times I'll sleep, especially if it's later in the evening. But yeah, a lot of guys sleep and just kind of do their own thing, and some guys play cards.
Music being played out loud seems a little selfish. It's like the guys who go on a run or on a bike and they've got the speaker and they're just blasting music as they go. It's like, buddy, I don't want to hear your music. I'm trying to do my own thing here, especially if you're reading or trying to watch a movie. It's like, hey, Max, can we turn down Celine Dion? It's like, I'm trying to chill here.
Well, first off, I'll clear Max's name. Max is not the one bumping the music. So I will not disclose who is the main culprit, but it's usually actually the music is blasted out loud, usually after wins. And then it's more of like kind of a celebratory vibe. So it's a little bit more understanding in that sense, because it's all like, we're all kind of like enjoying the moment, bumping some music, hanging out, basically.
All right, fair enough. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good vibe, good environment.
Anyways, that's the Reddit question of the week. We got our long shot feature. That's New York Jets quarterback Mike White. First NFL start was last week. He threw for 405 yards and led the Jets to a win over the Bengals. He's the first NFL QB to throw for over 400 plus yards in their first start since Cam Newton did it. He was a practice squad guy, love a long shot, and he got his opportunity due to some injuries, and of course, very clearly has maximized it. Shout out to Mike White for that.
Yep, beautiful stuff. And kind of a similar story to the guy we're about to get to, Taylor Heinicke, guy who bounced around, finally got his opportunity. We learned during the conversation it was the quarantine quarterback. So he went to Washington, had to keep his distance from the rest of the quarterback room just in case there was a COVID outbreak. They had somebody to lean on and got his opportunity, completely maximized it, signed a deal in the offseason, and now he is the starting quarterback for Washington.
Yeah, we had a great conversation with Taylor. One of my favorite things about it is just seems like a very just regular, simple kind of guy, which I always really appreciate, somebody who does what they do at such a high level. And, you know, when you watch him play, obviously he has such a high skill level, and that happens through a serious dedication to your craft. But he's very just kind of like over himself, simple, just kind of like, yeah, you know, I play football, I sling that thing, I do what I do. Just seemed like a great guy, and certainly enjoyed talking to him and having him on. So I hope you guys enjoy our conversation with Taylor.